My name is Tim Storey. You are listening to Ever Forward Radio. I am a life coach and a pretty good writer.
Intro, but you and I were talking right before we're getting started. Welcome again, Tim Storey here on the podcast. Thank you for coming down. I appreciate it. I was really excited to dive into, like we were talking about before, this kind of concept of principles.
Yeah.
And being a good human being and putting ourselves on the path to kind of figure that out. And one of the things that has helped me immensely, I was sharing with you, is Stoicism. And I know you're a student, an expert, really, in a lot of ways, of ideology, theology. And one of the things as of late, the past 2-3 years, has been Stoicism for me. And today's quote from this book I read every day, The Daily Stoic, is from Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorite Stoics. Is when you've done well and another has benefited by it, why, like a fool, do you look for a third thing on top? Credit for the good deed or a favor in return.
Awesome.
How do you translate that? What does that mean to you?
Awesome. I think the key is motive. Is you do good because hopefully you are good, and you don't look for anything in return. So your motive is just to manifest who you are already.
Your intention. Yeah.
Your intention, very much who Mother Teresa was, very much who Nelson Mandela was. And I think that's a phenomenal quote. Yeah.
Are you familiar with Stoicism? I'm sure you are.
Yes,
but,
I am. Yeah.
How do you find Stoicism? How does it sit with you? How do you find it in the world of theology and ideology?
Well, I think that there's, as we had talked about earlier, that there's amazing truth in so many different places. And getting to travel the world like I have, 75 countries, I've learned from people that I didn't expect to learn from. So I think that with Stoicism, I think there's some amazing thoughts, amazing quotes, as there are in Judaism and the Muslim faith, and traveling the world and learning from the Hindus. I've learned from a lot of really bright people.
Who have been some of the people that have surprised you the most that you've learned from? Because I'm sure we can have expectations of this person, I'm going to learn a lot, but maybe someone really surprised me that you weren't
expecting.
that,
like Oprah Winfrey did this series that I was in called Belief, and it was on man's quest for spirituality. It was a great series on OWN. And so in getting together with a lot of those people at different events and dialoguing, you just found some amazing people that sometimes like lived up in the mountains, and just their devotion to serenity and to peace, and just to be still and be in the moment. I learned a lot from that, because that's the opposite of the people I work with. I work with entertainers.
It's the opposite of a lot of people
who
in this
don't
world
really
right now,
want to be in the moment. They want to just keep pushing. So I learned a lot from a lot of people I didn't think I would. And but I am a researcher, a learner, an observer.
You said a key word there that I want to bring the audience's attention to, and that's devotion.
Yeah.
I think we can learn a lot. We can, excuse me, we can put ourselves on the path to learning a lot. But if you really want that kind of ROI on it, if you really, I think, want to have the most impact on yourself and residual of people around you, you have to kind of devote yourself to it, right?
100%. Yeah. So to me, though, I believe that, God the Father plays such a key role in my life, that it's not just sayings that are building my faith or keeping me strong or structured, but it's actually a relationship with a very powerful God. So that's what's worked for me. I don't go around saying that to everybody, because that's sometimes not their thing. But that's what's worked for me. It took me from A to Z.
How do we begin to develop a relationship with words? Whether it's Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, or the Old Testament, or insert any ideology or religion here. Reading it and learning it and understanding is one thing, but I love how you're talking about developing a relationship with that. How do we go about doing that?
Okay, so as you know, as much as I do, you're getting about 50,000 images that are coming to our minds every single day. So just driving from where I did, one part of California, to where you are,
Yeah.
there's billboards, there's signs, there's music, there's movement, there's friends calling, there's business things working, okay?
Yeah.
Before I just got to you. So there's so many images that are coming.
I'm glad you made it, by the way. Like
Yeah.
a lot of things going on against you in the world.
With all those images.
A lot of stimuli going on.
So what we're looking for, it's like when you go to the Grauman's Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California, and the stars put their handprints in cement, or sometimes their footprints in cement. We're looking for things to make an impression on your mindset and in your soul. Because once I can make an impression on your mindset, I gotcha.
Impression, I love that.
Yeah. So what I do is I leave impressions on people. Like the way I speak and the way I create content. I get people that come up to me in an airport and say, I saw you 28 years ago. And they'll name the place and they'll name the exact thing I spoke about and be right. But I'm doing that on purpose. So some of the great writers, like a Bob Dylan, he, on purpose, left an impression. Okay?
Yeah.
And so I think that in the idea of the 50,000 ideas and impressions coming at you, that what one needs to do to make other things stand out is to meditate, to ponder, to mutter on those things so they'll rise to the top. So I spend a lot of time during the week meditating on different thoughts that are just really hard to shake me. So
that's easier said than done, I'm sure. But by now, I have to assume you have a little bit of a process, right? So what is the story method? You know, what is your process for kind of dwelling and being one with and developing this relationship with your own work and your own studies?
So it's something you know as well. From your background in the military, which I have no background in the military, you learn certain things that became a revelation to you.
Sure.
So a revelation is like something that just gets so deep inside you that Oprah will call an aha moment. Mm-hmm. But what most people don't do is they don't take it down the next two steps where I'm going to take it. Is that a revelation brings conviction. Like I saw this one guy, and he used to be really chubby. I saw him 3 years later, and he was in amazing shape. And I go, whoa, look at you.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to say, hey, you used to be chubby. I just says, hey, look at you. And
Focus
he goes,
on the positive.
He goes, yeah, it's called the post-heart attack diet. He said, I decided I wanted to live. So because of the way he ate and he was in such bad shape, the doctor told him that was one thing that helped create this heart attack. So he wanted to live. So the revelation of having a heart attack led him to conviction of, I'm going to start eating better. So revelation leads to conviction. Conviction leads to movement. So my revelation of that I can stand on certain words, principles, thoughts, as I do every day, leads to a conviction that drops from my mind set to my spirit to my movements. So I move in a very calculated manner. I'm not wondering what I'm going to do in life. I'm pretty much headed somewhere.
Which that rings very true for me. Again, in the military, everything we do, everything we say and think, it has to have a purpose behind it because there's so much riding on that.
Yes.
And just flat out, that's a lot of people struggle with bigger problems in transitioning back to being a civilian. But one of the things that drives me nuts is just in day-to-day living, I see people, they're not moving with a purpose. And I interpret that as, I remember when I was in the military and still today, I move with a purpose. Now, if I'm moving with a purpose, it's because I'm leaving somewhere, having finished something most likely, and I'm going somewhere else to start to, accomplish the next thing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I'm digging too deep into it, but if your actions don't represent your thoughts and your intentions, nothing really you say is going to matter. I think so. I think
I think you have it down, and I think that if you look at some of the great generals in armies from many countries,
Marcus Aurelius.
yeah, they moved with what you just said that I teach: purpose and intent. Purpose and intent. You got to know where you want to go with purpose and intent. When you get around some of the guys I get to get with, I live a very unusual life where I get to see people who just jam at such a high level.
Yeah.
The way they do things is just different. The purpose, the intent, whether it be a great athlete, basketball player, or a great business woman, there's a purpose and intent. There's a look in the eye. They enjoy life, a lot of these people, but they know where they're going. There's no doubt about that.
Do you think for maybe some of the people in mind or just people in general, is that innate or can that be an acquired skill set?
It's both, and that was a great question. Because the three primary ways we learn is education, okay, conversation, okay,
that's my favorite, by the way,
and observation. So we talked about a person that's dear to you that's in school. Mm-hmm. So this person is learning more about that trade through education, okay? So we learn through education, we learn through conversation, and we learned through observation. So what's happening in our lives can be so amazing because I've seen people that in their DNA, they didn't feel like Kendrick Lamar. They didn't feel like they had royalty in their DNA. They felt like they sucked. But yet maybe they picked up a book like Think and Grow Rich, and then they just shifted their whole freaking mindset.
Napoleon Hill, yeah.
So that was the education. Mm-hmm. Or they have one great conversation like Kanye and Jay-Z, when Kanye and Jay-Z just started going at it all the time in the studio, and they just started to just learn off each other. And that's another thing I get to see is I get to see the best minds in the world go at it with each other.
I'm so jealous of that. That's one of my favorite things in the world to see is that moment or moments when with an individual or with me and someone or other people like you're talking about, that magic happens. You can see it. You can feel it. You can almost damn near taste it.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the things you're talking about there, I highly agree with, and especially quick, in my background and your background of formal education.
Yes,
I think that meant something more even just like 3 to 5 years ago than it does now. I personally believe that the formal education experience is in a little bubble that's about to change.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the next
changing
10
already.
years
Yeah,
maybe.
no doubt.
What are your thoughts on that? Is that formal education so necessary? How can we still get that quality education?
I think you should believe in both. So I think some of our contemporaries, and I won't mention their names, male and female, a lot of them talk against the formal education side, and some will even call it a waste of time. Depends on who the person is. For some people, to get the formal education, help them with discipline. Sometimes it's at the place they went to get the formal education that they met the right partners.
I agree with that.
All of Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not there, he's not there. So me in formal education has opened up a lot of doors for me that are at like a really crazy level.
Yeah.
Where that if I was just charismatic or inspiring, it's not like you get invited by the head of this whole country.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm still just kind of stuck on education.
Yeah.
It's a part of me. I think it's still kind of. I have my roots there because only just a couple of years ago, I was wrapping up my master's program, and it's like funny but not funny. I honestly can't even tell you where my master's degree is right now.
Yeah.
I'm paying tens and tens of thousands of dollars. And I know many people have it worse than me with student loans and things like that. And like, I don't even know where the degree is. The experience treated me well, and it served a purpose during that season of my life.
Yes.
But I almost feel like I have a little bit of resentment towards that. But I did get a lot of good experience and community and fellowship. But the end result of what I went into that experience for is not what I actually walked out with.
Okay, so
is that in education in and of itself?
As a life coach, life advisor, which is part of what I do for a living, so then I would then ask you, what was your major?
Health promotion.
Okay. So in knowing you to a degree, you have been using that. Okay. Yeah. So it's not like you took everything from all the courses and that's exactly what you're doing. But I think that sometimes one little break, one little thought, one little item that you may learn in an education setting can shift your whole freaking life, man. Like my life has been shifted by one situation, and it'll take me about a minute and a half to explain. I was playing golf with a guy who was a sports agent and another guy who is a producer of, TV stuff. I missed a putt, and these guys are competitive. And the guy said, "You had a setback." And then I said, "Yeah, but I'm not going to take a step back." I said, "I'm not going to sit, I'm not going to settle, and I'm not going to cement myself." I said, "In fact, when I'm feeling the sting of my setback, life is creating my comeback." And so my TV friend goes, "Holy crap, write that down."
Yeah.
So I go to the scorecard and I start writing 10 chapter titles for a book that changed my life and brought in many, 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 many millions of dollars into my life. And I did say that many, because I then became the comeback person. If somebody had a setback, you were calling me. Whether you were in the NBA, whether you were a rapper, whether you were one of the most famous singers in the world or actors. And it became, he's the comeback coach. USA Today, he's a comeback coach to the stars. One freaking golf experience.
Unreal.
So that was me taking that experience and realizing there was an open door.
Yeah.
So in the area of education, sure, it took you all that time, all that money, but if I was coaching you, I like that for you. I think that it's broadened you. It's given you a stronger base. You're young enough to continue to build that base to just keep going higher.
It showed me what I didn't want to do, which
Yeah.
is so almost invaluable, I think.
I agree.
Two things in there. Let's see if I can remember them and go back to it here. One, a lot of times people will make that investment in terms of money, in terms of time, resources, interpret that how you will, into a formal education, into a credentialing, into a weekend workshop, a mastermind, a seminar, a conference, whatever. And they go in thinking, I'm spending X amount of dollars, I need to get X amount of ROI on that.
Yeah.
And that's where if you could talk there about how, honestly, I think we need to break that intention. We need to just recognize that this is an investment and it's a commitment, like we were saying earlier, to the process. And that process isn't immediately going to yield an end result. So investing into the process and how to have that intention so you can go into it and absorb what you need to.
Yeah.
And secondary is, well, I loved how you're talking about how someone else kind of called you out and in terms of, hey, write that down. A lot of things that I talk about is really how I went about it and how I think others can go about discovering their true purpose. And it's because we need to be in those situations where people can hear it. Right. It's ordinary for us. It's extraordinary for other people. And a lot of times we don't recognize the passion, the purpose we can have because it's just our norm. And that's why we need to be in these scenarios to have people pull that out of us. So if we can remember one and two there.
What I would say to all that is I agree.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't even think it's me adding too much to what you just said, because what you said was very strong. So, but what I would just come alongside you and say this, that first of all, we got to watch who we're learning from. This whole thing of life coaching, masterminds, everyone's a mastermind, everyone's having a mastermind. They have so watered down these programs that that's not who I'm going to try to learn from.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's different levels of basketball, as you know. So Michael Jordan played at such a high level. That's why you hear both Kobe Bryant, okay, who doesn't live too far from you, we're over here, and LeBron James saying, I watched his videos over and over and over and over. Dude, I'm not listening to everybody. I don't. I really don't.
So how do we lock onto that?
I don't need all that air in my system.
How did you go about finding this person or persons to lock onto that? I think that's the point you're making is so important, is who you are paying attention to. How do you kind of filter through to get to that person or persons?
Well, I think that part of it is in the power of partnership, is that you could be the right person with the right plan, but you need the right partners. So if you were to put 50 of my best friends in your living room, they would look very different. One guy would be like really tatted up, and then another guy you would like so recognize, and then another lady you'd be like, you're best friends with this lady. She seems mean as hell. So the types of people that I'm drawn to seem to be a bit of a smorgasbord of style, and they add different dimensions to my life. And so
that's so important right there.
A lot of what I learn is from maybe the mean lady that says, read this book. Because I saw you speak recently, and I thought you were saying a bunch of bullshit. Oh, I didn't know that. So you should read this book because they go deeper into the subject that you are in. I have those kind of people in my life that just, they look for depth in me.
Yeah.
Then I got like funny comedian friends that you would know of that you've seen on Netflix specials, and then they add something to me.
I was just listening to one last night. I think a mutual mentor friend, Ed Milet, recently had Sebastian Maniscalco on his podcast.
I
listened to it on the drive down.
That was a phenomenal interview with him.
You listened to it, yeah.
Yeah, and I like that guy as a comedian.
He's amazing. He's starting to become more acting. I've seen him live once before, his Netflix special, like you're saying.
Yes.
Great interview and a lot of depth. It really surprised me there.
Yeah, I think that, you're friends with Ed. I think that even Ed Milet, he's going so much deeper. Like, he is a phenomenal speaker. And we get to share stages together, and we're working on a tour together. But he's really coming up with some great stuff right now.
No doubt. Yeah. Just true to his character, in that interview, he was talking about, I think, one of his secret sauces. He was talking about how he never allows himself to be truly like happy or accept the full reward of his labor, because if I do, then I get comfortable, and then it's like, well, then what if one day this can all go away, or my interpretation of it can change? And so he's just like, no, it's not that it's not good enough, but it's just, it has to be more, it has to be more, it has to be more. I want to kind of shift gears and go back a little bit to what we were talking about in the beginning. Having someone like yourself who is so well versed and well educated in life experience in studies of ancient civilizations, like I was sharing with you in the audience earlier, Stoicism for me has been a relatively new thing, like 2-3 years, about 3 years.
Yeah.
I've begun to study it more, read it more, and really be able to apply it to my life. What is it about these ancient principles that are so perennial that still hold worth that we should maybe be looking back to for kind of principles in our life right now in 2019?
I think that it's not just because it's verbiage, whether spoken or written, that it's old or vintage, but it's the meaning behind it, where we're living in such a fast-moving society. Even the idea of people and their content, that makes me nervous. Because I get around a lot of young guys, male and female, and they'll say to me like, I'm just putting out content.
Content for content's sake.
Do you think, again, Michael Jordan just going like this? Like the masters aren't just shooting everywhere, man.
That's such an amazing analogy. That's so true.
And I've never said that before.
They're not just like randomly throwing a ball somewhere in a stadium, hoping maybe that one of them goes through the hoop. But no, it's intention and action, intention and action.
Yeah, so this idea of this content and also using people's words and not giving credit. I actually heard a person say to me, my grandfather had this saying, never give up, never ever give up. So just for fun, I said, was that your grandfather's saying? Did he create that saying? Yes, he did. So I said, so your grandfather was Winston Churchill? He goes, no. And he goes, like, somebody said that before? Yeah. Does that make sense? I was in the studio with Kanye West when he created a song, Whatever Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. And so the thing that was cool about it is he liked that hook, but he was asking one of the dudes in the studio, like, look up who said that. I want to know who said it. So
wow.
So that's the strength of what you're saying, whether it comes from the Bible, Stoicism, some monks, wherever this is coming from, Picasso, great painters, great dancers, great philosophers, is I think that there was a little more meaning. People were a little more intentional.
Yeah.
They took a little time to put out the next album.
Yeah.
They weren't just throwing out mixtapes.
They had less distractions, That
was another good one. I feel like these guys that are now like all the talkers, they're like throwing out too many mixtapes.
Shooting too many air balls in the dark and just random mixtapes.
Yeah.
Hoping one of them gets a deal.
And the thing is that you might have a following for a period of time, but, let's look at something. Look at the Rolling Stones. I went and saw them. They're old. Okay? Mick Jagger can still jam.
It's amazing.
And just run around and everything. Those guys have been around a long time. But one reason they're so great is because those songs that they did predominantly in the 60s and the 70s, because those are mainly their hits, late 60s, 70s, okay? They took time. They let them marinate. And that's what I try to teach young leaders, man. Let this crap marinate deep inside you. And because it could be that one revelation like me coming up with, when you have a setback, don't take a step back, get ready for the comeback. To think that is going to change my children's children's children, boom.
Yeah. Something that you may or may not know, you probably don't know, we're talking about leaving impressions and having principles that leave an impression on the here and the now, the person, the place, the thing, the here and the now, but things that last the ages. And I think that's why Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism and all these other ideologies are so timeless, really. What I'm doing now is because of a lasting impression. And for a long time, I just thought that lasting impression was the memory of my father. We kicked off this podcast from this message. We kicked off this whole brand, which is now our business, our belief system, off of a message that my late father used to just instill in my family and me and my brother and sister. And so I was like, okay, he left an impression. But once I began to study it more and really go into the history, it was then and there during his illness. It was during our upbringing. So for the past 34 years almost. But he picked it up from his time in the military. And okay, let me look there. That unit goes all the way back to before technically we were even a country, before there was an army, just a muster of men with rifles in the late 1700s. This band of brothers came together, and their motto, their creed, was ever forward.
Yeah.
And that, hundreds of years ago, the origins of our country, that impression is now on here, and our reach through ever forward everything we do, we're now in the millions, which I'm sure someone with a rifle back in the 1700s had no way to even fathom.
Yeah, it's super, super powerful. Super powerful.
It kind of freaks me out.
But powerful that you took that from your father to getting it into yourself, the revelation, conviction, and then the movement or manifestation that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And then now it's going into millions of people, and who knows where else it goes from there. So that's super cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. You've been sharing with us ways that, things have left impressions on you and how you worked with others. What impression are you here to set? We talked about kind of the how, but what's the what?
I think that what I do is I lift people up. That's what I do. So if there's a guy asking for money outside 7-Eleven, I'm the guy that's going to talk to the guy. For real. The other day I was in a donut shop because I needed coffee. It was super early. It was like 5:30 in the morning. And there was a guy struggling with mental illness, and he was making a disturbance in the donut shop. And the guy who owned the donut shop said, "I'm going to call the police." I said, "Do me a favor. Hold on all that."
Yeah.
I said, "Let me talk to him." Within 6 minutes, the guy's mindset shifted. I had him outside. I was talking to him.
Wow.
It was just a good guy off his meds. Okay? He struggled with schizophrenia. And so that's what can happen if you get off your meds. Okay? So this guy's going to call the police and create some kind of situation. So where I'm at in life is where I started. I'm a servant. That's what I do. Yeah. And I lift people up. I do it in all settings. Yeah.
That's so amazing to hear. And because that kind of just solidifies in a way a lot of the work that I do and try to do, and really how I operate. I try to do that as well. So thank you for being a model in that aspect.
Yeah.
But I think in this modern day and age of like a lot of things we're doing here, audio, film, content, I like to think it kind of resembles the core principles there of just good storytelling.
Yeah.
But a lot of people suffer with, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to share, especially on like this platform, because it's scarcity mindset. I think, someone's going to take my idea. Someone's going to, maybe do what I do, but better or faster and make more money or have more impact. And I've had a few experiences like that where like maybe I should have not said some things. Have you ever run into anything like that? How do you kind of like be open-minded and share and develop this community and have rapport while also kind of making sure that, what's yours is going to stay yours kind of thing, or like not to be selfish. Am I understanding?
No, it's a very good question. So it all has to do with how big is the pie. So if I have 8 pieces of the pie, okay, and I have 18 people, but I have 8 pieces,
okay,
then I'm nervous.
Yeah. And I like pie too, so that's
okay,
thin slices.
But if I have 8 pieces of a pie and I have 3 people, I think we're good. There's going to be some left over. I think that the universe is so amazing and that God is so vast that I never have one thought of that. When my guys, that I could say their names, but I won't, like when we do conferences together and they leave the stage, I'm one of the first guys that's hugging them, shaking their hand, saying, "You did it. You smoked it." Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to do my thing. My thing is going to be different than their thing. I'm cool with your thing because I got my thing.
I was just going to ask kind of what you're just talking about in this kind of opening up process and definitely the coaching process. I have found greater success with people I've worked with by helping them do just that, is helping them understand and develop and take action on their own thing. How someone at your level, how do you help other people realize that? Because I'm sure you get people come to you and say, "Hey, Tim, just like tell me what to do, what to think, how to act, teach me your ways." But it's not about that, right? It's helping them develop their own.
Well, I think we make it so difficult when it's not. I feel that when you were a kid, your dream was already speaking to you. Your dream has a voice. I get a chance to interview famous people's parents. So I asked one famous actor, his mother, what did he want to be? Boom, 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 boom. Everything he wanted to be, he is now. And I would give him, he's in the top 3 of actors. I asked one of our greatest singers to the mom, what did she want to be? She wanted to do boom, boom, boom. Everything that she wanted to do, she did. So when you were you, as a little guy, you were already thinking things. You were already dreaming things now. It may have been over the top, right? It may have been very superific.
Yeah.
But your dream has a voice. And if you put that dream in the right environment, it'll grow into the right thing.
Absolutely.
Isn't this brilliant?
Yeah.
So all I do as a master of what I do, I put people in the right environment.
Environment meaning like literal environment or connecting people to other people?
I put them in the right space. A lot of times it's in their mind. If you could clear the clutter,
I like that.
If you could clear the clutter out of somebody's mind, which I'm a pro at, that's a lot of what my next book is about. If you could clear the clutter out of somebody's mind so their real thoughts can take up that territory that was used to be filled with clutter, you could just shift a person. I shift them that fast. They'll bring me a star you would know, and the guy's effed up. And he's like, oh, dude, and and you saw me, and this happened, and, I was on TMZ, and you saw, and I go, oh, that's all interesting. No, I didn't really see that. So anyway, let's talk about, when you wrote that song, usually when I am meeting with somebody who's famous and they mess up, I never even talk about the mess up for the first 2 or 3 times I even meet them. I've even had one star call his agent and say, are you sure this guy is this good?
Does he even know what's going on?
Because he is not addressing the situation. And then 3 or 4 meetings in, they'll go like this, you're tripping me out because I think you just did that on purpose. My mind is now so clear that what was my big problem doesn't seem as big of a problem.
Yeah.
So
would you say what you're talking about there is really the people you're talking about specifically, but people in general? When we have a problem, that's all we focus on. And if we continue to focus on the problem and what happened, we will prevent ourselves from thinking about a solution and what can happen.
Well, you're amplifying it.
Yes.
But the thing is that some crap's going to last a long time because you created it. So I was life coaching a very powerful lady 2 weeks ago, and she goes, I want you to change me now. They told me you could change me now. I go, it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Okay, here's the deal. You could be driving down the freeway. For those listeners that have never been to Southern California, we have something called the 5 freeway, Interstate 5. Okay, you can go down the 5 freeway. Okay, you can go from Newport Beach area all the way down into downtown LA. I've been driving on the 5 freeway. Just hear me out, and seen a boulder come out of the back of a truck and go like, "Oh, avoid the boulder because it's going to hit my windshield," and I did. Oof. I have seen, a mattress come out. This is a true story. A whole freaking mattress. The guy didn't tie it down right. It just flew out on the freeway.
Well, if it's Tempur-Pedic, it might have just absorbed the impact of it.
See, that was good. I got to just boom for that. That was good. But I've also seen an oil spill where there was a big oil spill that I didn't see with my own eyes, but I felt it from like 28 cars back, and the freeway was locked up for close to 24 hours. Yeah. Because I called my assistant. I said, hey, Kristen, try to find out what's going on the 5 freeway. She bam. Oh, man, there's a really bad oil spill.
Get comfortable, Tim.
Yeah. Find a way off. Yeah. And when I watched the news later, it literally took 24 hours to clean that doggone thing up. Jeez. So there are people that they got like a boulder that fell off in their life, right? Like, oh my God, I got a boulder. Okay, maybe me or you could fix them in about an hour. Mm-hmm. Some people, a whole mattress came off. My bad marriage.
My bad back.
It's good, right?
Need that Tempur-Pedic.
Some of you suckers got oil spills, man.
Yeah.
It's going to take 24 hours at least.
That's so true. And very timely. And this is what I love about what I do now. And a lot of the people that I talk with, in theory, we should have spoken before in terms of like scheduling, rescheduling, things like that. But I've learned to really let that go and understand that it's all part of the process. I had an interview yesterday with someone who's been a mentor in my life on this platform, podcasting specifically, but also in his path. And literally we should have connected about 3 years ago. Well, we did, and then off and on. Yeah. And you, again, someone, we've had to reschedule here and there. These things, they've all been little boulders. They've all been little mattresses. But it's been necessary to stay the course and to learn and hear things in that timely manner.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see your path, because I think that what you are experiencing is beyond your years. Okay, so you're experiencing a lot of great things, and you have a good wife with you too. So you're connected.
I do. Love you, baby.
So you got power and partnership.
Thank you.
So you have what it takes. So now, as you know, one of the key things is the power of partnership with others that you partner with, right? Mm-hmm. And then also, I think it's not pressing. Like, I don't press for crap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, they all day long people will say like, dude, guess who likes you? And they want you to come to, and I go, oh, that's really nice, but I already said I'm going to this guy's 2-year-old's birthday party. And I'm really not even joking.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
At all.
Yeah.
No, because if that's supposed to happen, then maybe we'll reschedule or we'll try to do the best to make. I'm not pressing for anything.
I love that. You better said what I was trying to say, I think there.
Maybe not, but I'm not pressing for anything.
And I think for a long time I was pressing, and I was pressing the wrong things. I was pressing for the wrong returns. I was pressing for the wrong, end result. And they're all valuable lessons. But in my opinion, a lot of things, some things were a waste of time. Some things I was the bad guy in. A lot of things I was the bad guy in. And for myself and for other relationships, I've talked about on here before how my work, pressing on the wrong things and ignoring a lot of the other things, was the better part of a decade.
Yeah, but in all fairness to you, pressing was part of the environment you were in. You're in the military.
Very true.
You got to press. Yeah. You're in physical fitness. You're in great shape. You got to press. Eating right. You got to press. So you've been in a situation of the press. But it's the timing of when you put your foot on the pedal that's really key.
Yeah.
So, and this is what I've learned from the greatest, not some of the greatest, the greatest, is there's a time to do that press, and then there's a time to just watch and just pay attention. Mm-hmm. And that's because I have a very, very intense life. I have a very, very intense schedule. It's difficult for me to find time to call people. That's just the way my life is. So it's not like because I'm laid back that I'm like wandering through shopping centers looking for items. But it's more of a mindset. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
To really be here.
Yeah.
Like I'm here right now. I'm not somewhere else. I'm right here. And I think that's going to be a real key for your life, because you're getting a lot early like I did. And so I think I was fortunate enough to get some amazing, powerful mentors that really taught me how to stay on top. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that's a difficult part. But you're going to do it. You're going to do it. But that's the difficult part. Most guys are 2 years and out.
I agree. It's hard work. It's not easy work. And call it conditioning our whole lives. We're expecting, if I work, I get some kind of reward.
Yeah.
Some of these rewards take a lot of time to kind of manifest, and to you're polishing this piece of coal for years and years and years and years before it ever turns into a diamond.
So can I say something about that for a minute?
Please. Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Part of it is realistic and unrealistic expectations.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some people's expectations of what they want to do are very unrealistic. And they would think that somebody would be a dream thief to say, no, that may not happen. No, that may just really be the reality. And that sometimes your motive, again, back to motive, is wrong because of the opposition that you faced. See?
Okay.
Like, I'm from Compton, California, same as Venus, Serena, Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar. But I don't have a chip on my shoulder just because I am from the inner city, whatever inner city, whether it be D.C., Chicago, part of Miami, whatever. Okay?
The rough parts of anywhere in the world.
Yes, Soweto, South Africa. And if you look at all those people that are having such influence, there's a swag, but there's not a real chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, I agree.
But there's a swag, and there's a understanding. There's a revelation. Because the more I talk to people that had it rough, that were raised with one foot back, like the way we were raised, is that I celebrate the little successes that I have in life. So, like, somebody said to me, they said, you know why Tim Storey is so calm? It's because he's playing with house money. So it's like if I went to the Wynn Hotel and I got all these chips.
Yeah. Dude,
for what I already got to do already?
Can't beat it. Funny timing as well. I was just there, I think it was last month. My wife's a huge Celine Dion fan. We went and saw her last ever Vegas show.
Wow, well, that's huge. That's history.
Yeah, and I'm not really a Celine Dion fan, but I was completely amazed. I mean, she's a performer. She is so talented. She's phenomenal. She's also a little weird. She's a little quirky, but very funny and entertaining. Yes. I felt so grateful to be a part of that. Her last ever Vegas show.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, Tim, it's been amazing to get to know you. The fact that you came to me, I'm so appreciative of. I truly have been loving doing this.
How do you get through your gates and your guards to get to you? And your guard dog.
Yeah, clearly my vicious 12-pound
Dude, I don't even have all this.
And kind of sharing with you the background of Ever Forward. It comes from literally the foundations of America. A country built on principles, I think arguably anyone could say that. And then passed on through the generations. And now, long story short, here I am having this conversation with someone like yourself. What do those two words mean to you? How would you say that Tim Storey lives a life ever forward?
I think that you have to live with meaning, and you have to live with intention. And when you live a life with meaning, your life will matter. And people will then want to tell your story. So even what you said about your father and things that he said, what he said meant so much that somebody said it and it went forward.
Wow.
So that's how I see it.
Beautiful. I always love hearing people's responses to that question. I get some that are 3 to 5 minutes. I get some that are 3 to 5 seconds. A lot of them in between. There's no right or wrong answer, but I appreciate your interpretation of that, and I appreciate your time and your conversation. Thank you. We of course will have all of your information listed down in the show notes. You'd be hard not to be able to find you. But right now, if someone wants to find you, are you hanging out the most on Instagram, your website? Where should they go right now?
I think just to the website, Tim, and then STOREY.com.
Okay.
And then you can find a bunch of things.
Beautiful.
TimStorey.com.
Excellent. Well, that's a wrap, everybody. Thank you for listening to the show, watching if you have been. Definitely connect with Tim's content. It's not just content for content's sake. It is principle-driven. It is intent-driven. And it has been amazing to spend time with you again today, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Oh, wow.
Good stuff.
Excellent, my friend. Thank you so much.
But proud of you, man. For real.